Hey guys, if you're here, it's because you want to be making fantastic cold calls and you want to improve your approach. If you haven't seen part one of this video, please check the bio. Part one is the most important part of this video, which is the introduction. But if you've watched that video, let's get into it. I want to talk to you about the next 6 steps that you need to take to make sure that you're taking your phone call from cold call, warm call, setting an appointment. So, assuming you've made it this far in your phone call, what we want to do now after the introduction is we want the reminder. Now, what is the reminder? Well, guys, chances are if you are making cold calls, if you are reaching out to somebody, particularly in the world of business to business, that you have had a previous touch point with them. Why am I mentioning this? Because it is absolutely critical that you remind people of this connection. So for example, I've introduced myself and I'm speaking to Dave Smith. Dave, I met you at the event, or Dave, if I'm not mistaken, you were at an event last week that looked at A, B, C, D. Guys, find the common ground, find something that is going to remind them and allow them to go back into their memory bank and really think about, hey, do I know this person? Have I been receiving emails from this person? Are we connected? From there, ideally what you're getting here is a yes. So one of our favorite methods is to send emails before we call somebody. Now, a lot of people send emails expecting the emails to do all the work. Change your mentality. What you want to do is send the email knowing that that person has maybe opened that email. And then you want to be able to sit there and say, hey, you've received an email recently from us in regards to our accounting solution, or you've received an email from us recently in regards to our cloud solution, whatever your solution might be, and then ask them, does that ring a bell? What you're looking for there is the yes. Now, if they come back and say no, something that I like to do is I'll actually reiterate their email, okay? And we'll get our teams to reiterate their emails. So we might come out and say, okay, but I did send something to dave.smith@company.com. Is that the right email? Does that ring a bell? We're looking to get the yes. We want to get a yes there before we move on to the next section. It's hard to move on to the next section if there's just not this little bit of acknowledgement that we have some sort of common ground. Now we want to get through to the next stage of qualification. I call this stage qualify and engage, and it is the third step of a sales pitch. So the qualification is simple, especially if you're making a B2B sales phone call, or even if you're making a straight up phone call to, let's say, just an everyday consumer who maybe you want to sell some information to, or whatever it is you might be selling, or some sort of subscription to, is qualify them further. So for example, if I'm calling Dave Smith and Dave Smith is an IT manager and I want to be speaking to an IT manager, I will take the time to say, Dave, if I'm not mistaken, you're the IT manager over there at ABC organization. So let's say on the other hand, though, you're not talking to somebody who's in business. You're not trying to sell a business solution. Let's say you're just trying to speak to somebody who maybe you want to help them out with their accounting. Maybe you want to help them refinance their mortgage. Maybe you want to help them buy a new house. Doesn't matter what it is. Again, qualify them. If I'm not mistaken, you're investing in the market right now. How's the market treating you? Again, you want to qualify them if you're selling a financial product. Hey, if I'm not mistaken, you own the house down the road there at 25 Birch Grove Road. Qualify them. A lot of people are skipping past this. You want to get the yes. Now, this is important not only because you're getting yeses and you're qualifying, but it actually lets you know if that person has moved on. It lets you know if there's been a change of circumstances, and they'll come back and tell you actually. So instead of continuing that phone call and going, head first into your sales pitch about, we offer this product, we offer this solution. No, slow it down. And if you're not getting the response you want at that particular point, if that person is not qualified, if it doesn't fit the avatar, okay, or the persona of who you're trying to speak to, don't waste your time. Say thank you, keep it moving. It's a great opportunity to get new information about the company that you're trying to reach out to, the person that you're trying to connect with. And that's why this qualify and engage stage is absolutely so critical. This is really where the conversation begins. We're past the qualify and engage stage now. So we've had this fantastic heightened introduction. We've then taken the edge off by introducing ourselves and letting them know that we're here to solve a problem for them. We're reminding them that we have a little bit of history and we further qualified them and we know we want to continue this conversation. Resist the urge at this point to jump in and talk about your product. Resist that. Humanize the conversation a bit. Now, there's two ways to humanize the conversation, depending on the solution and depending on the type of prospect. The first thing I like to do is add value, okay, if there is an opportunity to add value. Now, let me give you an example. So let's say, again, I'm calling somebody about the stock market. I'm not going to jump in and start talking about my fund. I'm not going to jump in and start talking about my research. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to actually relate with them over the conditions. I might come out and say, hey, how's the market treating you? Look, it's been a little bit volatile at the moment. There are certain sectors we're avoiding and there's certain sectors that we're going after. And what we like at the moment is X, Y, Z. So I'm looking to add value through genuine conversation there. Now, let's say I'm making a B2B phone call and I'm speaking to the Chief Information Security Officers. There might not be an opportunity to add value, okay? Because these guys are actually top tier professionals. They know what they're doing. So what I might look to do there is add value through relatability. What you need to do is understand the level of stress that they might be facing at any given time, right? Headwinds that they might be facing at any given time, and just quickly break bread over that. So one way I like to do that is I acknowledge their title. They've told me that they're, let's say, a Chief Information Security Officer, and I might come out and say, I know as the Chief Information Security Officer, you're under a lot of pressure at the moment, and you're probably operating with one hand tied behind your back. So I'm going to keep this really quick. Now, by saying that, I might not necessarily be adding value, but I'm relating to them. I'm acknowledging where they're at. That level of relatability, being able to tie it into how you acknowledge where they're at, it's actually going to make you human, and it's actually a form of empathy, frankly. And people are going to appreciate that. This is so critical before you start diving into products and features and all these kinds of things. And really at this point, you should have your tempo figured out. If they're talking slow and they're happy to hear from you, slow down. If they're talking fast and they're being short and curt, keep it short. Let them know that you're going to be moving quickly. What you want to do after here is bring it back to your business and your business motivations. Not your business solutions, but the motivations behind your business. Not even about how you can help them. Don't be arrogant enough to sit there and say, you know what, I can help you. We're going to help you do this. We're going to help you do that. But by sharing your motivation, you're just being very honest about what your purpose is. And if they relate to that purpose or not, that's up to them. If you've got a hitchhiker trying to wave you down on the road, it's like, dude, what does this guy want? This is a bit freaky. This is a bit weird. What's going on? I don't know. But if somebody's car's broken down on the side of the road and they're changing the tire or they're pushing the car up the street, you know they're motivated. You know what they're trying to achieve. So the chances of you engaging with that person are much higher. It's the same on a phone call, guys. It's the same with anything in life. You know, or at this particular cybersecurity company, we're motivated by helping Chief Information Security Officers take the stress out of their day. That's our motivation. And, you know, at XYZ Accounting, we're motivated by helping Chief Financial Officers streamline their books, whatever it might be. Guys, I can't tell you what your motivations are, but you need to know exactly what the motivations of your business are. Now, of course, you want to make money. Don't say that. That's implied. But beyond that, what is the motivation behind the problem that you solve? And if you do not know the motivation and why your company has invested in solving an industry problem, go back and speak to your leadership team. Go back and speak to your product team, okay? And you need to tell me about the motivations. Now, in my experience, motivations typically revolve around three things. It can be more, but it's typically around removing the stress and headache out of something, making something more efficient, okay? Or alternatively, helping somebody make better decisions to make more money. So figure out where you fit in on the motivational scale, okay? Obviously, if you're a charity or something of that nature, your motivations are going to be totally different. Focus on your motivations. Once you share the motivation, now you can go in to the solution that you provide that supports that motivation. So for example, let's say I'm a Nike representative. It's just a simple example. So our motivation is to help track athletes reduce their times and be the best athletes that they can be. Now, I'm not talking about the shoe, but from here I can transition into the shoe. Okay, I can sit here and go, we do this through our patented foam technology that we embed in the soles of shoes. We do this through our lightweight fly knit material. We do this through our ultra light, ultra durable running gear. So now you're tying the actual benefits and actual features into the motivation. That's how it should flow, guys. Now your product and features make more sense. This brings me to point number 6 in the pitch, which is now the trial close. The truth of the matter is, at this point, their interest is going to be waning a bit because you've probably been talking for a little bit too long. That's where you need to bring them back into the conversation and ask them a question. And that question should relate to the problem that you're solving, your motivations, and the features that you're offering. So I might come back and say, Dave, the problem that we're solving over here, the way we're tackling that, is that something that's of interest to you? Is that something you would like to learn more about? Now, if they come back and they're like, look, actually, we've got a totally different solution. I've just spent $1 million of my budget implementing a totally different solution that solves the same problem. Now it's a totally different conversation. Now you're really asking yourself, okay, I want to learn something. How hard do I want to push this person? They might come back and say, hey, you know what? I actually just bought a pair of Reeboks that do exactly what your Nikes do, and it's going really, really well. Or they might come back and say, you know, I've just bought a pair of Reeboks that allow me to run an extra 5 kilometers for XYZ reasons because I've got a bad knee. Now you can actually start asking questions and it's more of an organic conversation. But at this point, you need to stop and ask the problem that we're solving, the way that we're solving it, is it of interest to you? Qualify at this point. So at this point, you've essentially qualified about 3 times. You've qualified that you're speaking to the right person through your introduction. You've qualified that they are actually indeed the type of person that you want to be speaking to, whether they're an investor or a certain type of professional. And now you've actually qualified whether or not they can relate to the problem that you're trying to solve. From there, guys, you need to ask yourself, depending on the solution that you're selling, do I now get into the features and the benefits of the problem that we're solving, which is a next video, okay? It's part 3. Or is there a bigger play here, okay? Particularly if you're doing B2B sales. Is there a bigger play where perhaps I can sit there and say, hey, you know what? I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to show you a few things that could potentially make your life a lot easier when it comes to ABCD, the problem that we solve. From there, you might look to set up a meeting. You might look to set up some time to talk in a more intimate settings where you can really now introduce yourself properly, have a very consultative conversation with them about all the problems that they're facing to give yourself the best chance to convert that deal. Now, let's say it's a mortgage. Let's say you're selling a mortgage. Let's say you're selling a property. At that point, you might come back and say, well, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. Bang, 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 bang. Is that something you'd be interested in discussing further? Do I have a moment to go through that with you now? Could we book in a better time to have a conversation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? How you then go in and close that is really dependent on the solution. I'm going to do another video about how you can now take everything that you've delivered into the pitch and actually consolidate that and turn that into a deal. So guys, stay tuned for our videos. I'll be talking about how to transition from the trial close to a proper close in the next few videos. If you've liked this video, feel free to give us a like and a subscribe. Again, we want to be able to raise sales standards all across the game, so you're having a better experience, so your organization is having a better experience, and more importantly, so your prospect is having a better experience. If your prospect is having a better experience, receiving value, having an effective conversation, an effective phone call, you will do more business. It is as simple as that. It is a numbers game. You want to be doing all the little things to ensure that you're taking yourself from that 2% to 5% to 10% to 15 to 20% conversion rate. And that's the difference between being good and being great. Thank you.